Hey, welcome everybody. I'm your host, Felipe. This is the Total Basis Podcast. With me is my co-host, Sean Flannery. Sean, how you doing?
I am great. One round, a very wild card round this year. Really stood up to the name. Only 3 game series. Going to do a little bit of recap of round one and previewing what round two has for us, as well as swallowing some crow on our predictions. I got a couple right,
Yeah.
and I was proud of that. But I
You
also
know what?
got a few very wrong.
We go really hard on these predictions, and we spit out these predictions, and then we swallow hard on these predictions. If I could use a Dong City innuendo there. As for those who were listening to me on Monday night with Vince and Henry, I made my predictions very bold. I mean, I am using bold font if you guys can see the screen that I'm sharing here. There's a more wrong than right, but that's okay. I've been more right than wrong before in the past. It's just a bad year, very unpredictable year.
Hey, I got 50%. I'll take 50% right now.
I'll. I still got my Dodgers and the Padres still alive. Unfortunately, they're gonna beat the crap out of me.
So you're gonna lose one of them.
One of them, yeah. Well, I predicted on Dong City that this series would go 5 games, but that was before I found out about all the pitching injuries that the Padres had. So I don't know anymore.
Yeah. So if that series goes 5 games, I think things are not going well for the Padres. They're gonna. I mean, in Game 3, they interviewed Jace Tingler, and they said, "Who's starting for you tomorrow for Game 3?" And he said, "Honestly, I don't know, and it's going to be a long night." And of course, they go and they use 9 pitchers for the entire game and beating the Cardinals in that crazy game.
They might not have a choice, but let's get to it. But I just wanted to point out, because people were making fun of me because I didn't, I made some, like I said, some bold predictions, some bold declarations, and it's like I told people, I've been doing it since 2013, Sean. I remember when in 2013 that was my first playoff series that I got to cover for xnsports.com, and I think I got every series correct except for one, and I can't remember which one I got wrong, and nobody was celebrating, right? I go on this fucking show, sorry for the swearing, but I go on this show and make these predictions, and everybody's all over me. Like, hey, come, but you know what? I just want to point out that here at Total Basis Podcast, we don't run away and hide and cower. We're here for you, man. You want to call us out for all our wrong predictions? Here we are.
Go for it.
No, not just yet. I want to make sure that people understand that we also celebrate our triumphs and redemptions. Sean over here warned you about Gleyber Torres. All right. And all sorts of. I mean, this is a show that we have to make declarations and proclamations. So and sometimes I don't remember what predictions I made. The one prediction I hang my hat on for this year was I told you guys about Kevin Gausman when no one believed me about Kevin Gausman. So, but we like to, it's the wrongs that get pointed out more often than the rights. So just like I think Vince put it very nicely on one of his rants in the Baseball Life group. By the way, we are live on the Baseball Life Facebook group. If you're listening to it on audio only or on YouTube, if you want to catch us live and join the fun, meet us every Sunday morning on Facebook at the Baseball Live Facebook group. But what I was saying was, if you want to tell us how wrong we are, we would appreciate if you tell us how many times we were right and how many times we helped you in your fantasy baseball leagues. Remember who told you about Trevor Rosenthal when everybody was giving up on Trevor Rosenthal because he got traded to the Padres? Now, we were wrong about Josh Stoutman, but you know what that is, Sean? That's just good process, poor results. We can't do anything about the Royals, man. The Royals are going to win.
We can't make them use Stoutman as the closer, but guess what? I have a solid feeling he'll be their closer next year. You can't throw that hard with that nasty of stuff and not be a closer. So consider a lot of my eggs still in the Josh Stoutman basket.
Yeah, I mean, again, opportunity will always be a factor, but I mean, ultimately, what we believe in is that talent always wins out.
Yeah.
So what? And then besides, the Royals are going to trade all their bullpen pieces anyway. Like Greg Collins, I don't know if Greg Collins is going to come back or not. I don't know his contract situation. But if Greg Holland does come back, damn well he's going to get traded again to a contender, and then we'll be up in the air, trying to figure out who's going to be the closer for. Is Holland going to be the closer for the new team he gets traded to?
Probably not.
I mean, dude, how proud could I could you imagine me being when I see that Trevor Rosenthal struck out the side in Game 3 of the wild card game against the Cardinals on Friday night, I believe. I mean,
he definitely made it. He definitely made it a nail biter in Game 2 when he gave up the one run. Oh my! I mean, it was out there throwing 102, but it was like no clue where it was going.
No, and I almost say crow for that, but then he totally redeemed himself. I mean, I think he pitched all 3 games, right?
I'm not sure if he pitched Game 1. I know he pitched Game 2 and 3.
I could have
granted, like every San Diego Padre pitcher pitched at least twice in that series. I feel like.
Well, let's get to it, man. So we both predicted the Rays over the Blue Jays, obviously, so we can hang our hat on that one. Yes. We both got the Indians wrong, unfortunately.
Yeah, that one, I was a little shocked, but it seemed like the Indians just kept giving it away. I mean, kudos to the Yankees to keep plugging away, but after the Indians gave up the grand slam to Gio Urshela, which I believe you hinted to me that we're going to look at some win probability added, some whippa later. And I want to say Gio Urshela might be close to the top of that grand slam. I wonder how much that changed the win probability in that game. But still, the Indians came back. And when they came back, I said, oh my God, they did it. They're going to win. And force the Game 3, which I think if they force Game 3, I like their chances. But they go and, Brad Hand just gets the yips, loads the bases in the 9th inning. And I was at work and I was walking through the break room and I see the bases loaded with nobody out. And I'm like, well, there goes my Indians prediction. I had the Indians in the World Series and they're about to get bounced right now.
Yeah, there we are. We're the 2 dopes who believe in the Indians going to the World Series, and we should have known better. Really quick about this. Last week's show, when I was going solo, I was kind of fearful. And I think I did pick the Yankees to go to the World Series. But I had the brackets all effed up. I didn't have them down correctly. So, but even then, with the incorrect brackets, I still was kind of worried about the Yankees because it seems like they were all coming back healthy. And if you look at that lineup, man, that's a superstar lineup that could smash and mash and crash and just demolish the ball. And now they have a legit ace in Garrett Cole. And
I mean, if Stanton and Judge can be on the field at the same time without, shattering a glass hamstring or a glass calf, I mean, they have a legitimate chance. I mean, Giancarlo Stanton, when he's on the field for the last 2 years, has been a great hitter. But the thing is, he's not on the field. No. But that would be a hell of a redemption story if, Giancarlo Stanton goes out there in the World Series and hits 4 home runs. That would be awesome. I would be happy.
And he's going to come back next year because
of course.
He's not getting away from that contract.
I was listening to Rates and Barrels over at The Athletic. It's Eno Saris's and Derek Van Ripper's podcast. And Eno Saris made the bold prediction that not one player who can opt out is going to opt out this offseason. And can you blame them? JD Martinez is not going anywhere. Giancarlo Stanton is not going anywhere. I think that's a pretty bold, but also very true with how the free agent market has been and coming off, post-COVID. I think some owners are going to be a little sheepish when it comes to spending money. If somebody can opt out, I don't think they will.
Yeah, these are uncertain times, but those contracts are as ironclad as they can be at this point. So, no, take your money and live to fight another day when all this goes away. I mean, those owners are obligated to pay those contracts. I know there's out clauses. I know that owners can get out. And I mean, I work in contracts myself on a regular basis. And yeah, you'd be surprised how non-ironclad actually these contracts can be. Because for whatever reason, there are escape clauses. But this isn't the NFL is what I'm trying to say. You just can't get out of it willy-nilly. But anyway, no, we it sucked with the Indians. But this is the last time I'm going to go with the pitching and defense theory that many people always give me. I've been trying to avoid that for years. For some reason, I thought a wacky season like this one, pitching and defense might prevail, and it didn't because the Indians just don't like I mentioned last weekend. There's a lot of holes in their lineup outside of Jose Ramirez and Francisco Lindor, and they got exposed.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Jordan Luplow, who really had a down year, known as the lefty masher, I thought it was insane. that, he gets brought into that game late to face the lefty, even though Britton's already faced 3 and can be pulled from the game. And Britton was subsequently pulled from the game. And Jordan Luplow, who's basically a can of cold water against right-handed pitchers, ends up hitting that clutch double. I mean, made Sandy Alomar look like a genius. But then later in the game, if you ever have Austin Hedges pinch hitting, or if you are the player that Austin Hedges pinch hits for, just go retire. Like, why are you even playing baseball if Austin Hedges, who's like a career like 190 hitter, is pinch hitting for you? But yeah, that offense, I like some of the pieces they added. Josh Naylor had a big series. Was the first player to go 5 for 5 in his first 5 playoff plate appearances. Both him and Franmil Reyes, guys that they swiped over from San Diego in consecutive years. Both have tremendous raw power and have shown the ability to hit for average. I really kind of like what they're building. I think we see a Lindor trade, and they maybe get back a few more pieces and really flesh out that offense.
Well, we'll see, man. Right now, I'm really down on Cleveland right now. If you trade away your best player, what are you? What good are you? But
I don't think Lindor's their best player.
Jose Ramirez.
I think Jose Ramirez will be and has been. He led the American League in WAR this year. A lot of people are going to say Jose Abreu for MVP, but I went back and I'm looking at Jose Ramirez's numbers, and it was insane. He was so good, and nobody talked about it.
For sure. One of the most underrated players in all of baseball. I'll give you that, but I'm sorry though, but Ramirez. I like Ramirez. I like Ramirez, but Lindor, that's your superstar right there. That's Mr. Bigger Than Life right there. I think that's. I don't know. That would be my decision. If it were up to me, I try to keep both.
Yeah.
Baseball.
It's much easier for them to keep Jose Ramirez because he signed that real friendly 5-year, $26 million. Oh my God, what a steal! And he's got club options for 22 and 23.
Yeah. So, at any rate, that's Cleveland. That's like I said, kind of disappointed how they turned out. The Twins were also a major disappointment. Basically, anybody in the Midwest was a disappointment in these playoffs.
The Central went 0-7 and won 2 games.
Right now, the matchups are 2 American League East teams versus each other, 2 National League East versus each other, and the 2 Western teams also against each other in both leagues. So
yeah. The Central did not have a good week.
I made a joke in Dong City that something about West Coast versus East Coast and Tupac versus Biggie, and I didn't realize that was going to be an actual thing. I didn't think that was going to actually happen, and it's happening. So, Twins and Astros. We both have the Twins. The Astros look kind of beaten up, and they had the rotation looked weak, the bullpen looked weak, everything looked weak against them. And then, like you mentioned before in a past episode, the experience factor was major here, I think, as the Twins had just, oh my God, just mental mistake after mental mistake. And everything.
Yeah, that was the series I thought that could have gone either way when I picked that. I wasn't really sure. I thought both teams had a good chance of winning. I thought it was the crazy stat they showed that, Sergio Romo's faced, X amount of players in the playoffs and has never had a walk to bring somebody in or something crazy like that. And so, someone that just has such a storied playoff career like Sergio Romo, and even he fell to the mental errors. And it's really interesting what Minnesota's going to do, because you can't just blow it up because you can't win in the playoffs. You could, but it's one of those, the process has worked for them the last 2-3 seasons. It's just not working in the playoffs. So what are they going to do?
That's everybody's answer to every problem. Just blow it up. Just blow it up. Everybody wants their teams to rebuild. The Twins and the Cubs. You saw the Cubs the fans having meltdowns in baseball life. Why? Extreme circumstances call for extreme rebuilds, right? But it's not always the right answer. We've seen teams try to rebuild for decades now. The Mariners, the Pirates, the Phillies, before they gave up and said, fuck this shit, we're just going to go ahead and sign Bryce Harper. And suddenly now they're a playoff contender that could have beaten the Cubs, despite the fact that they have no bullpen whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's everybody's answer.
I had no qualms picking the Marlins against the Cubs, which ended up
Clearly.
being, like my look at me, I got it right. Because that offense, I mean, you looked at the Cubs record and you're like, wow, they're a pretty good team. And then you looked at like their 1 through 9 lineup all season. And it's like a lot of guys had like sub 700 OPSs.
Yep.
Except Ian Happ. Like even Rizzo struggled. Chris Bryant struggled. Javier Baez was one of the worst hitters in baseball. And yet they led the Central.
Let me tell you something. This guy right here, well, because we're admitting we were wrong, but this guy right here, he warned you about Chris Bryant, didn't you?
Yeah, it's one of those. It could come at any point. I still like Chris Bryant over Javier Baez, but it's one of those. Yeah, Chris Bryant, I can't touch with a 10-foot pole. I like him. I want him to succeed, and he very much could if he just gets healthy. Because I don't think that shoulder has been right for 3 years.
Yeah,
and until it is, it's no good. It's very, very bad, actually.
Yeah, and that's been a problem is injuries and just inconsistent play. And then we saw the StatCast numbers, and it's all blue. I'm like, ooh, that's not a
premier. And it's just gotten progressively worse and worse.
That's not a premier hitter, I thought to myself. And I mean, I touched him I think it was in the newbie. That's where I touched him, but I felt like I had a good price on him in terms of draft stock. And he was either on my bench or on my injured reserve spot or my injured list slot in the newbie league, and I barely won because I didn't get anything out of Chris Bryant this year. But anyway, that's another story for another time. But no, as I was getting on my little rant here, I mean, you still have some players on this team, yeah, and you can always count on regression for 2021 full season. I think I saw on Fangraphs that Javier Baez and not just Javier Baez, but a plethora of players across the league were complaining that they didn't have the video that was normally available to them in years past. And we saw what Javier Baez can do when he can make in-game adjustments. Who the hell? Josh Bell also complained about it. So, and we saw how bad Josh Bell got this year until he kind of redeemed himself in the second.
I want to say J.D. Davis said something similar for the Mets. The fact that they didn't have Chili Davis in the dugout, he worked remotely all season, and that they couldn't go watch video mid-game. He said that really threw him off. But just to kind of wrap up my little Cubs snippet, if you ever wondered how bad Javier Baez could be offensively while still being exactly a league average player, he had a 57 weighted runs created plus this year. It was still right at 0.0 WAR. So he was replacement level. There was actually only 2 hitters in all of baseball that had a lower WRC plus than Javier Baez. And that was Eduardo Escobar, who was kind of shockingly bad this year after posting great.
No, I told you guys not to do that.
I still like him. I still like him going forward. And then Nicky Lopez, the little light hitting, potentially high batting average guy. He's showed it in the minors, but he really struggled for the Royals. I mean, some guys that were ahead of Javier Baez, Eric Gonzalez, Jonathan VR, who is terrible. Nolan Arenado also. I say this for Henry out there. Nolan Arenado had the 11th lowest weighted runs created plus in baseball.
It was all those American League West ballparks that got to him.
He had a 76. And Jose Altuve and JD Martinez had a 77. So I don't know what to make of this fucking season. Like, sorry, part of my language. It's like so many guys were so bad and some were really good. And I don't know what to make of it.
The thing to do here, Sean, is to not panic like these Cub fans are doing. I'm sorry, I gotta call them out. Oh, blow it all up. No, you don't want to go full rebuild, not with this team. I understand you got to get rid of Chris Bryant because he doesn't want to sign with the team. I mean, I think he has Scott Boras as his agent, and Scott Boras, once he gets a vendetta against your team, you're screwed. So whatever. I was expecting Bryant to be gone last year, but he's still around and he's not producing. If he can get off to a good April or May, trade his ass right now, like immediately. Don't be like the Nationals and not get anything for Bryce Harper. But in the end, look at that team. Look at that team. They stuck to their guns. They could have gone full rebuild after 2018, and they didn't, and they end up winning the championship in 2019. This could be the Cubs.
Yeah, I know it's then bad. They go and re-sign Steven Strasburg to a $180 million contract, and now he has carpal tunnel. And I've never heard of a pitcher coming even having carpal tunnel surgery. Like, I feel like that would be pretty dramatic
Yeah.
in terms of, just feeling the ball and getting a good feel,
He
because
was saying that he couldn't feel the ball.
yeah, I mean, that's worrisome. That's what killed Matt Harvey and has continued to kill Matt Harvey was he can't feel the ball. He can't spin it like he used to.
But there's a lot of big contract on that team. I mean, it can't stop you from competing. I mean, and I know the Nationals did a very good job of developing players. I mean, that's really the difference between the Cubs and the Nationals is for some ungodly reason that minor league system just stopped producing players for the Cubs, and I don't know why.
It's like they got traded to some other
Well,
teams.
well, I mean, the Nationals traded away prospects too. Come on, guys.
Yeah,
Giolito. But they still produce prospects in their minor leagues. It's not a barren farm system. I mean, the Angels are bad every year, and their farm system sucks. So how does that explain anything? So, I mean, the Mariners. What the hell, the Mariners?
The Mariners really, Jerry DiPoto over there wheeling dealing has.
I mean, at any moment, hold on now, Sean. At any moment's notice, Jerry DiPoto is going to trade all those prospects away. Don't be surprised if Jerry Kelenic goes away just because Jerry. Jerry
I don't
DiPoto
think that's happening. I feel
Rangers.
like he's going to get a Evan White contract. He's not going to play a game at AAA, and he's going to get a damn 7-year, 8-year extension worth like $80 million. I could see it.
But I mean, and at the same time, at these conversations with the White Sox fans who are now chirping, I'm like, hey, Javier Baez is basically Luis Robert. Just be mindful of that. They're the same player. That can happen to your team too. And you know what the funny thing about the White Sox is, I pointed out, like all the young players that the White Sox fans were bragging about, nowhere to be found. Moncada, down year. And I give Moncada a chance to kind of redeem himself because I know he was struggling with COVID and he never, got his strength back. So I'll take it easy on Moncada. But Madrigal, he didn't really.
He batted .330.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking from a fantasy perspective.
Oh, okay.
Well. Mentally, all I saw was.
I mean, in a 5x5, I still think that Madrigal's like people are sleeping on Madrigal because he could. I mean, actually 340. Let me correct myself. 340, 376 on base. Obviously, only had a 369 slug. That's going to be the last thing that comes around. But I always said that his on base could easily be higher than his slugging, and that. He batted like 8th and 9th a lot in that lineup this year. Yeah. He needs to bat first or second.
No, I mean I would
get him on base and in front of guys like Tim Anderson, like a 1-2 of Tim Anderson and Nick Madrigal. Just like that seems fun. That's a lot of hit and run. That's a good speed at the top of the lineup. Guys that are going to swing the bat, put the ball in play. I think the White Sox kind of missed a big chance there, batting Madrigal higher or even earlier. Obviously, dealt with the injury.
You miss big chances all year long, man. I mean, this is why you have to, when your team is going to be this good, or supposedly going to be this good. You
got an MVP year out of Abreu, yeah, it's.
You got a big year out of Abreu when we thought he was done. Like the 3 years, I thought that this was going to be his, contract riding into the sunset kind of thing. And now you're like, oh, you only gave him 3 years? What are you, crazy? Well, it's because, they were hoping that Andrew Vaughn can step up. Like, that's what the White Sox need, another first base DH type of player on this team. Like, they don't have enough of those guys on this team already. But, I mean, look
maybe
at this.
Andrew Vaughn can teach Luis Robert how to take a pitch.
Or maybe I'm waiting for Luis Robert to tell y'all Moncada to be a little bit more aggressive. I mean, Jesus, this team. I mean, a lot of potential, but you're seeing how bad it can get in a hurry. Because they're chirping, all the Cubs are done. Hey, it can happen to you too, you guys as well, to your team.
I mean, the White Sox right now, especially this year, reminded me a lot of the Cubs in 2015. They had a really good regular season and then just kind of fell flat in the postseason. So I still like my chances for the White Sox going into next year.
I wouldn't be too optimistic. Like people are just, I don't like the idea that, well, this is going to be their down point and it's all uphill from there. I mean, we thought the Indians were done. Like, you talk to White Sox fans this offseason, they did not take Cleveland seriously. They didn't take the Twins seriously. They didn't think that Twins were a real threat. And now look at that. If this weren't an expanded playoffs, the White Sox wouldn't have made the playoffs. And then all comparisons to the 2015 Cubs would have been laughable.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. I mean, let's face it. And the Cubs made it farther than the White Sox could ever imagine this season. In 2015, I'm talking about. I mean, it's just, I don't like these. Like, first of all, the comparisons are off. And number two, all your young players didn't show up. Where's Eloy Jimenez? Sprained foot. Like the guy with the 2 left feet who can't feel left field to save his life had sprained feet problems. Dylan Cease, nowhere to be found. Remember, they won the Quintana trade. Where are these players to get you over that hump? I don't want to hear excuses from anybody about this White Sox team. Like, the time to strike is always now, Sean. You might not get this far again.
Step on their throats. Go for it. Step on the gas.
Step on the gas. I mean, that's why this is all I was saying. If you're Rick Hahn, and this is a big criticism of me and Rick Hahn, why did you stop getting players? Why are you depending on Nick Madrigal to save your season? You can't do that for a rookie. Luis Robert, you saw what happens when you depend on Luis Robert to do everything for you. He struggled mightily in the second half. Nowhere to be found. And then he finally, he got that big home run against the A's, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
Mazzara, where is Mazzara? I mean, I know he hits the ball really hard, but he has nothing to show for it. And then again, another bad outfielder, save for his arm. It's just, I don't know, man. I don't like how Sox fans are kind of lax on this team, and not demanding more. Meanwhile, the Cub fans are asking. It's bizarro. The Cub fans are asking to become the fucking Marlins. I mean, yeah, the Marlins, right?
Hey, Marlins, they're moving on.
But we've seen what the Marlins can do, are capable of doing in terms of just baseball futility. I mean, and look what the Marlins did. They actually went out and got players anyway.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous. It's to me, it's ass backwards baseball logic here. But I digress. All right, so let's get to these. We were wrong. We were right about the Dodgers and Padres. Sean was right about the Marlins. So and the Rays too. The Rays are a really good team.
Yeah.
Blah. Let's get some predictions out of the way here before we forget. Rays and Yankees. Who do you like?
Rays. I think going up against the Yankees have a lot of left-handed pitching, especially in that bullpen that they're going to rely on. And the Rays are always going to be a team that platoon you to death. Randy Arozarena's in very small sample size has played great. Yandy Diaz is back. Hunter Renfroe. All of these guys that kill left-handed pitching. Manuel Margot. I think the platoon advantage is definitely in the Rays' favor here.
Yeah, the only concern I have is the same concern I had against Cleveland is that, again, Yankees superstar lineup. Everybody's starting to be healthy at the right time. Garrett Cole is a legitimate ace. But the Rays have 3 really good starting pitchers, but it's going to be a lot closer than people.
And they could throw Jake from State Farm out of their bullpen, and he would probably go like 2 1/3 scoreless with 3 strikeouts. So,
and speaking of bullpen, the Rays are loaded. You know me, I've been pumping up the Rays bullpen for ages now.
What was the quote from Kevin Cash? I got a stable full of guys that throw 98. I love it. Let's go Rays. Rays up. Let's go.
He got the horse in the back. He's gonna ride the Old Town Road and ride them all out. And that used to be the Yankees, right? That used to be the Yankees bullpen. And I don't know what happened to the Yankees bullpen. I think they, too many years of not living up to expectation. Although I saw that Aroldis Chapman showed up in the playoffs in the last game against the Indians. So maybe that's a sign of things to come. But I mean, the Yankees, we used to say the same thing about the Yankees being loaded, and it's not. That has turned to the Rays. Rays are a very frustrating team in terms of fantasy, and if you're a casual fan, you're definitely not going to know what to make of it. The Yankees have more notable players, but I think the Rays, they might set the blueprint up for future baseball roster build-ups to come. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's cheaper. It seems to be a little bit more friendlier to not just the team but the players. And the only thing that sucks is, what do you call it? There's not a regular lineup.
Yeah.
It's because that's not how, like you mentioned, it's not just a platoon situation, but it's also like, okay, well, this hitter hits very well against off-speed pitchers. There's an off-speed pitcher up in the mound today. Let's put him in the lineup. Yeah. It's so random, and it works so well. My only qualm with them was it's a good 162-game season roster. I don't know if it's good enough for a 60-game season, this roster. And it turns out, yes, they are. It could be 7 games. It could be a 10-game season. This is a perfect team for any season.
Yeah. They mentioned that about the Oakland A's on Rates and Barrels on a Friday, as well as like the A's have a great 162 type roster. Perfect platoons. They find the right guys and they put them in situations to win. But then they get to the playoffs, and Saris was kind of roasting them. And it's like, Sean Manaea is really going to be your game 2 starter up there pumping 89-mile-an-hour fastballs. Hell, he might even be your game 1 starter.
Shoot me. If I'm a Rays fan, just shoot me. I mean, this is what pisses me off. Look, we both have the White Sox. This was a series, even with all the injuries. This was a series the White Sox could have had. They got to Luzardo, and they got, oh my God, Liam Hendricks threw 50 pitches in Game 2. God damn it!
And then came back and was pumping triple digits the next
He struck
day.
out the side, I think. What the hell, man?
Get that man in a Mets uniform. Get that man in a Mets uniform. Give him all the money.
Anyway, so we both got the Rays. I'm a little concerned about the Yankees. They might show up, but I think
it's going to be a good series. I like the chances.
It should be a 5-gamer right there. This is our 2 divisional rivals. But yeah, ultimately, we both see the Rays going. What about the Astros and the A's?
I think I'm going to take the Astros here. I think the Astros are going to bounce back. I think the A's lack of quality starting pitching is going to bite them. And the A's, this is another thing. The A's have a lot of left-handed pitching. That Astros team, for all of their warts this year, guys like Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, guys that usually crush lefties had down years. I think this might be a coming out party for him.
I think
it'll be a big test for Kyle Tucker too. You know, he's a left-handed hitter, but he's been that team's best offensive player, and it's going to be up to him. Really, I think they go as far as Tucker goes. And they're going to need innings from guys like Greinke, Urquidy, McCullers. McCullers has looked really good, actually. So I think they have the edge all around there. But the bullpen, if the A's bullpen has to throw 6 innings a game, then I think they just might run out of gas.
I thought this was the weakest division winner when I did the show last Sunday. I believe that this was it right here, the Oakland Athletics. I thought the AL West was the weakest division in the American League, and now they have 2 teams advancing. But there's something to be said about Astros having been there before, right? I mean, you mentioned it before, and that ultimately beat them. They overcame a better Twins team. You know, they took advantage. The Twins couldn't take advantage of a really good start from Kenta Maeda. Framber Valdez came in there and just shut the door down. And if you're going to have that option out of the bullpen again, I mean, the A's are screwed. I don't like the A's. Everything about them just like yuck.
Yeah, I feel like this is really kind of really pure conjecture. I haven't looked at the numbers, but I feel like this Astros team really, they've always, especially the last few years when they've dove into analytics on the pitching side, they spin the ball a lot. And I feel like this A's lineup is not a good breaking ball hitting team. Matt Olson, Mark Canha, all guys I feel like that are, pretty good dead red hitters. But you could throw guys up there like Greinke, Framber Valdez, his curveball is one of the best in baseball. Ryan Presley, at the back end of the bullpen. These guys really like to spin the ball, and I think that could be another edge towards Houston's versus the A's.
Yeah, I have to agree with you in that regard. I just up and down, player per player, toe-to-toe, pound for pound. I mean, the only thing I like is the Oakland bullpen. They have a really good bullpen.
Yeah.
That might be a difference maker. That might be enough for the A's to overcome some things. But number one, they're not pitching in Oakland. I forgot where they are, but Oakland doesn't have their home field advantage.
Yeah.
In that ballpark, that's huge. Literally, it's a huge ballpark, and pitchers take advantage of it. Where are they playing again? Do you know off the top of your head?
It's not in Texas yet. Is it? Is it in LA somewhere?
Maybe.
Right here.
Got it.
ALDS.
In the meantime, while Sean plucks away and looks up that information, we're going to go ahead and move on to the Dodgers and the Padres. We talked about the Padres a little bit. Dong City, Vince made a point about how he liked the Cardinals there because they have more experience and the Padres don't. But, he forgot about Eric Hosmer. He forgot about who else is on that team? Manny Machado having playoff experience.
They're playing in. Sorry to interrupt. But the AL Division Series will be played in San Diego and Los Angeles, while the NLDS will be taking place in Arlington and Houston. Because that makes sense. The Houston team could be playing in Houston, but I digress.
No, they don't want that. And so you can so they can have access to the video cameras? I don't think so. So what? So where are the Astros and the A's playing? Are they in Los Angeles or are they in San Diego? Does it show?
It's one sec. In the NL, Arlington's hosting the Dodgers. Astros will face the A's at Dodger Stadium.
Okay, so another pitcher-friendly
park, yeah. And then the Rays will face the Yankees at Petco Park. Oh God, this is going to be weird to watch. I'm
looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to it.
It's so weird. This 2020 season, I just want to burn it with fire.
And our buddy Austin, who's a big Angels fan out of the Inland Empire, I believe he's from the Inland Empire, just from a little bit that I know of him, says that there's something to be said about the chip on the Astros shoulder. Again, those intangibles that we talked about, the experience, and now that you got a pissed off Astros team who doesn't appreciate being questioned. I mean, I'm ambivalent to it. It's like, whatever. I think it's more of a Major League Baseball issue than an Astros issue. But yeah, you got to agree with that.
Yeah.
It's still a pretty loaded lineup. It's a down year. They lack pitching depth, but they might be another team that's coming around at the right time. And they too are going to take advantage of the fact that they're pitching out of Dodger Stadium, just like the A's are, which is supposed to be a pitcher-friendly ballpark. So, all right, let's move on to, like I said, Dodgers and Padres.
I got Dodgers
series. You got the what?
I got the Dodgers.
All right, so do I.
Yeah.
But on Dong City, I made the bold prediction that this one will go 5 games. I'm not too sure anymore with the Padres' lack of pitching, starting pitching, I should say, and you can only rely on the bullpen for so long before they start to wear out. And I don't know what the schedule is going to be like. Are there going to be any days off? I don't know. Doesn't matter. But Dodgers are just.
Yeah, it's a Monday. It's supposed to be Monday through Friday for the ALDSs, no off days. And for the National League DS, it's Tuesday through Saturday, no off days. So this is one thing that the Dodgers, it could be, in this first series, they did the piggybacking. Julio Urias came in behind, I believe, Buehler in the first or second game. In a 5-game series, will they be able to afford to piggyback 2 games rather than straight out start somebody like Tony Gonsolin or Dustin May? But let's be serious. I mean, if for the Padres, if Nelson Lamet and Clevenger can't go, I heard Clevenger is on the bubble. He might be able to pitch. But Tony Gonsolin and Dustin May would be like the Padres' game 1 starter right now. And for the Dodgers right now, they're coming out of the bullpen. Dustin May hasn't even been used. He wasn't used in that wild card round. So the Dodgers have the better depth. It's just going to be interesting how they deploy it. I think the Padres are just going to run out of pitching. I think that's going to be the fatal flaw, the chink in the armor.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I still believe that this game potentially can go 5 games, but it's going to be a stretch. Dodgers, what they have in depth and talent, they definitely lack a lot of experience from a lot of their pitchers. I mean, you just mentioned all of them, and they're all like very young players who have. I mean, like I said, they need to be piggybacked. I mean, Walker Buehler needed to be piggybacked at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I mean, he only went 4 innings in the wild card round, so
that's a lot. I'll give him credit for going 4 innings. That's more than I expected him. But that's the thing. We're not. The team isn't expecting these young starters to go far in these games anyway. So so that might be a flaw. But I think.
But they also have the depth to actually mitigate it. But at the same time, if they're having to use Tony Gonsolin as a piggyback or Dustin May as a piggyback, that eliminates them for a starter of their own probably. Yeah. And if they do start their own, then you don't have anybody to be a bolt guy behind that. And then you have guys like Pedro Baez and Adam Kolarek that were responsible for the meltdown last year against Washington. Yeah. And Kenley Jansen he can barely crack a pane of glass. He's, I think, averaging like 88, 89 on the cutter. Yeah. The bullpen so far has been okay, but there's definitely a soft underside if, Clayton Kershaw doesn't go 8 innings, or if they don't get 8 innings from, a piggyback start. Yeah. It's going to be interesting how LA pieces it together, but the lineup's too good. The pitching has a lot of depth. I like the Dodgers here.
Yeah, and they're gonna really have to depend on that depth to get to advance as far as we think they can. I don't think it's as guaranteed as many people say, especially baseball. Nothing's guaranteed in baseball.
Nope.
Anyway, let's move on to the Marlins and Braves. This might be the dullest series in here. Like I said, I have no respect for any National League East team or any American League West team, but somebody has to win this game. Sean, who do you have?
I have Atlanta. I as much as I want the Marlins to win, they have the better starting pitching. I believe, even because with the Braves, after you throw Max Fried and Ian Anderson in the first 2 games, what the hell are you doing afterwards? Are you bringing Mike Fultonevich, who hasn't pitched in a month plus in the big leagues? I don't know. It's a tough decision to make. But the Marlins offense, I just don't think is good enough. and that's going to have Atlanta's already stout bullpen, who I've been low on, but they have performed well. And against a weak offense like the Marlins, I think that bullpen only plays further up. Guys like Will Smith, Chris Martin, and Mark Melanson will probably have their way with a rather timid Marlins lineup.
Yeah, I have to agree. I don't believe in this Marlins team whatsoever.
I do, but not yet. I think they peaked a little, or not, they didn't peak, but they got there a little quicker than anybody realized. And over a full 162 game season, that offense.
Sean, it's a bunch of scrub and waiver wire junk that they got.
But their pitching is good. Their pitching is good.
I mean, the pitching is good. Fine, I'll give you the pitching, but we all know how pitching goes. I mean, the White Sox have a bunch of young pitchers, and where were they in this series? Yeah. Dane Dunning, I think it was Dane Dunning, got removed after 15 pitches. Congratulations.
Well, I think that was Renteria going.
It doesn't matter.
He said afterward it was going to be a full bullpen game, and that Dunning wasn't expected to go longer than like 2 innings.
I mean, if you can't count on Dane Dunning, what good are these young pitchers? I mean, we talk about the Atlanta Braves having a bunch of young pitchers, and now they're just depending on the last.
They have
2. Yeah, okay. Kyle Wright and Ian Anderson. Congratulations. You used to have you used to go deeper than that, and all those guys have failed. You could have traded for a more veteran starting pitcher to I don't know.
Hey, that's why they signed Cole Hamels and Felix Hernandez, right?
Nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. I mean, that's not what I'm talking about. You could have made a real splash here, but they didn't because they thought that they had enough young arms. And that's the thing about young arms. They're even more unpredictable than young hitters.
Yeah.
Exponentially. And that's my only qualm.
Talking about the Marlins pitching, though, it's we haven't talked about them too much, and I feel kind of remiss that we haven't. But have you watched a lot of Sixto Sanchez? Did you watch his start against Darvish? Did you watch that game at all?
No, I was at work.
I just decided to go, and I went and looked. I knew he had a good changeup, and he's throwing like 100 miles an hour. But he's actually thrown his changeup more than any other pitch, and it is just like really good. He's only given up 8 hits, batting average 148, XBA of only 165, almost a 30% whiff. And he's throwing it 27% of the time. He throws it more than his sinker and his fastball, which is quite interesting. But I think their pitching, and even their bullpen, a lot of people are sleeping on the Marlins bullpen. Kinsler went out there and throws nothing but sinkers and still gets outs. Yimi Garcia, I think he's going to be a really good closer for them. But the offense just isn't there yet. I can start to squint and see the core offensively, guys like Garrett Cooper and Brian Anderson, but you can't have Jazz Chisholm and Monte Harrison starting playoff games. They're just too young and too raw.
Jazz was starting. I thought Jazz did start a couple of games.
Yeah, he is, but you can't have him. The hit tool isn't there yet. He's talented as all get out, but I don't think they're there just yet. Unless they run out, John Birdie and Miguel Rojas and just scrap you to death, which is what they did to the Mets the last few years. I mean, those guys, Miguel Rojas and John Birdie, have just killed the Mets.
Yeah.
But
look at this, though. I mean, you just mentioned a bunch of 30-year-olds. I mean, what peaked early? This was this was lightning in a bottle, and they took advantage of an expansive playoffs year this year. That's all it is.
Yeah. In a 162 season, the offense isn't good enough. The team falls apart in a 162. But I like what I'm seeing from Miami so far.
I mean, I'll give you that. The bullpen's pretty tight. I mean, it was not elite, but they do have some guys there. Some guys. I mean, it sounds like Dave wants it. They got some guys here. They got some guys. But no, everything about them, it's like I know there's 8 playoff teams this year. Okay, I get it. This is not this should not have been a top 8 National League team. That's my opinion. This is.
I mean, honestly, if the Mets could have just scored runs, because the Mets had a top 5 offense and they didn't score runs, and everything was set up for the Mets to be in the playoffs, and they just fumbled it away. I mean, it was.
No, the Mets have been a major disappointment for me because you know me, I'm a big Mets fan.
Yeah.
I'm like
they had 5 guys in the top 30 in batting average and WRC plus, and they couldn't score runs.
That's why I was kind of surprised in the league that we're in for the baseball life, where there's nothing but I think there's 5 Mets fans in that league, And I ended up picking up all the Mets waiver wire fodder, like Jaden Davis, Dominic Smith. Like, I'm King Mets fan at this point. But at any rate, but no, it's a blown opportunity for the Mets. I asked a Mets fan earlier this week, okay, who on this Marlins team right now do you take over any of your Mets players? And he couldn't give me an answer.
I feel like the only one you could say is Brian Anderson at third base over like JD Davis. But even then, it's like, I'm not sure. I think JD Davis is a better offensive player, but Brian Anderson's a very, very capable defensive guy. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on him going forward as a centerpiece in that offense.
All right, let's move on. So we both got the Braves. Let's lightning round league championship series. Braves or Astros? Who do you have?
I am going to go Rays.
Yeah, ditto. I mean, for all the obvious reasons. This is the Astros. This is where they run out of gas, and the Rays are just. We talked about it already. They're just loaded. Dodgers and Braves. This could be interesting because the Braves lineup is very, very good.
Yeah.
Is it enough to overcome a very deep Dodgers team?
I'm going to have to go with the Dodgers.
We're going for the LA Dodgers on the Chavez latrine here. I used to piss off the Dodger fans all the time. Well, beautiful Chavez latrine. All right. And so we got what we wanted. I wanted the Andrew Friedman World Series. His former team facing his current team. We're going to do, if Andrew Friedman and the Rays make it this far into the World Series, on this show, I'm guaranteeing you that I'm going to be singing that dude's praises every chance I get, because you know me, Sean, I love me a good front office executive, and this is the very best in all of baseball. It's going to be the Andrew Friedman show all the freaking time. I'm assuming you're going to stick with your Dodgers prediction here. What?
Yeah, I'm sticking with the Dodgers. I have to leave you in suspense a little bit there.
Oh, yeah. All right, so this is our
lineup's too good. Lineup is too good. I think this is the year they finally get through.
This might go 7 games, though. I would not be surprised.
It very well could be.
So, I mean, this should be a good one.
Aren't you excited to see in a winner go home game for the Rays for them to throw out some random opener like Peter Fairbanks and then follow him with like 4 innings of 88-mile-an-hour sinkers from Josh Fleming? Isn't that just exciting October baseball from the Tampa Bay Rays, the number 1 seed? That's exciting.
Point that out, Sean.
Little Josh Fleming with his little sports glasses out there.
They're not going to know what to make of it. But, I mean, Nick Anderson, the former Orlando Magic shooting guard, is going to be out there too. Diego Castillo, I'm a big fan of Diego Castillo. Oliver Drake is in this team. I mean, I'm just reading. Ryan Yarbrough can come in and open for them. But this is going to be fun. Like, if you're a diehard baseball fan, this is the series you want. I know it's kind of chalk, number 1 versus number 1, but I mean, I'm looking.
They're number 1 for a reason.
Roster per roster, player per player. I mean, they're evenly matched, more than the people give them credit for.
Yeah.
But this should be a fun one. Let's see. We got some comments here. They all agree with you. Sixto Sanchez, who was he a former Phillies player, right?
Yeah, he was the JT Realmuto trade, and with the word in Phillies land is Klentak stepping down. The owner himself even feels like they can't re-sign JT Realmuto. Chalk that up as another Marlins trade one, because 6 years of Sixto Sanchez for a year and a half of JT Realmuto is an absolute steal.
Yeah, well, I mean, the problem there is that they went with Bryce Harper. I mean, for good reason. They put Bryce Harper carried this team and made people believe that they were an actual playoff contender when they aren't. I mean, we've seen that team. We talked about it here numerous times, just how weak that team is. I mean, the bullpen alone is just crap and just junk and garbage.
It's okay. I'm about to have to spend the next 4 months fighting Mets fans on why the Mets do not need to sign JT Realmuto. I'm going to be exhausted.
Why? Why don't you want JT Realmuto?
Because catchers, especially athletically built catchers, they age like freaking milk. I went back and I did it in Baseball Life and several other groups. And JT Realmuto, through his age 30 season, is literally Jonathan Lucroy. Jonathan Lucroy was a really good catcher. They had 111 OPS pluses through their age 30 seasons. Realmuto had a little bit more power, but Lucroy had a little bit better plate discipline and got on base more. And look what happened to Lucroy. He fell apart.
Yeah.
JT Realmuto is already dealing with a bad hip, and he's dealt with some calf injuries the last 2 seasons. No, thank you. He's going to win 100 million plus. No, thank you.
Okay, that's a little 100 million plus. If he gets like a Yasmani Grandal deal, which at this point looks like a nice deal at this point, and if the National League adopts a designated hitter, that might not be so bad. We talk about on this show that maybe we have it wrong. Maybe we overvalue young catchers, especially from a fantasy perspective, but maybe in general terms, we value young catchers that flame out too quickly. But maybe the real success is banking on the 30, 31, 32-year-old catchers who've been there before, who can manage the pitching staff and finally find their batting groove. Like, I don't know, Travis Darno.
Buster Posey was 10 times the catcher JT Realmuto was in his prime, and even his contract is looking terrible. And I want the Mets on. I don't want to turn this into a Mets podcast, but it's like I want the Mets to have a good defensive catcher. JT Realmuto is a good defensive catcher. Don't get me wrong. Especially for a converted infielder, he's great behind the plate, and he's only gotten better. But you don't need to spend $100 million plus to get a good defensive catcher. Go out there and trade for Austin Hedges. Hell, I don't care if they run out Tomas. We just roasted him, but he's like Jeff Mathis 2.0. He's a damn wizard. I don't care if you run Tomas Nido and his revamped swing out there for 90 games. You don't need to spend $100 million at catcher. It never works out well. It just does not work.
Well, the White Sox fan in me is really happy with Yasmani Grandal. You know me, I've been a big.
But even he took a step back. I mean,
he
offensively.
also hit a key home run in this Oakland series. I mean, it was Jose Abreu and Grandal carrying this White Sox team for the majority of the season. So, because all the young players kind of disappear in the second half as well. But I'm happy with Yasmani Grandal. I do that deal over and over again. If it's only 4 years that you're looking for, that's not too bad. 100 million just.
I didn't realize he posted the 30% K rate, highest of his career.
What, Grandal?
Yeah. I mean, he still had great, walk numbers, 15+%, but
0.5 walk per strikeout rate. I mean, It is what it is. I mean, you know what it is, Sean. I think a lot of the free swinging White Sox players got to him, and he picked up on some of their
bad habits.
Or maybe he spent too much time with Yoan Moncada and was just taking more pitches than he ever took in his life. I don't know. I mean, Mitch Garver, but I was already down on Mitch Garver. I did not believe in Mitch Garver. I know a lot of people believe in Mitch Garver. I was not one of them, but I get it. I mean, but sometimes you just gotta. Yeah. Otherwise, you're stuck with the same situation that the Mets had all season long, with being stuck with a guy like Wilson.
Yeah, well, they had Wilson Ramos. Tomas Nido got COVID, and then they traded for Robinson Chirinos. Both guys are under contract. They have team options that can be picked up, but more than likely, both Ramos and Chirinos are going to be, have their options voided and just bought out. I think it's for like a grand total of $3 million between the two. I don't know. I feel like JT Realmuto to the Mets is like there's such a clear path for it, but I don't like it. I don't want it.
We talked about how good this Mets team is. If they can go get a catcher like JT Realmuto, who's supposed to be number one, even with the injury, even as he's aging.
But just because you're a number one catcher doesn't mean you're a good hitter or a good player. Catching is so weak right now.
But I mean, maybe that's all they need. I mean, this Mets team, there's no excuse for them to not be in the playoffs and for us to be talking about the fucking Marlins. It's no excuse. Maybe that's what you need. Maybe you need a good catcher like that to get you over the top. This team, I mean, you know me, man. I've been on this Mets train for a while now, and I'm looking at this Mets lineup right now as we're talking. It's ridiculous that they didn't make it far. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
They were a top 5 offense. I mean, there's no way around it. But it was so crazy that for being a top 5 offense in terms of, stats and process, that when it came to actual runs scored, they were middle of the pack. It was just
12 run differential. Yeah.
That first month, the runners in scoring position, it killed them.
All right, let's move on to this thing right here. I have we might just only get to the hitters anyway. I didn't finish the pitchers, but oops, I gotta do this. So if you guys don't know what this is the what do you call it? Win probability.
Yeah. We just lost WPA. I can't see it on your screen anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here.
Okay.
Wait. Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. I was trying to make this bigger for everybody.
That's what she said.
To see here. Just get that blood flow.
Hey, I
WPA.
was close. I was gonna have you let me guess 3 names for WPA, and Gio Urshela was gonna be my number 1 pick. I was close.
Yeah. So basically, 929. This game one for the Cleveland Indians. This was their highest WPA producer. Can you explain what WPA is? While I drink this
It
coffee?
is in the easiest way. I don't want to say it's a clutch factor, but it's almost like the analytical version of game-winning RBI, except it's like the game-winning play. Or for a pitcher, I know you don't have the pitchers done, but it's like the pitcher's performance. How much does it increase the probability of their winning? If you did have it done, I'm sure guys like Trevor Bauer probably had a great WPA during that game. Gio Urshela hit that big clutch grand slam off James Karinchak, which made me sad. But it is what it is. When he hit that grand slam, the shift in win probability is what, if it say it's like 54%, a change in it, that gets attributed to that player. So it's basically how much they influence the outcome of the game. I feel like that's a good way to describe it. I might be a little off base, but that's how I've always viewed it.
You're right. It's a storyline statistic. People who are into clutch and that's why when I show them the WPA, they're kind of wait, he didn't do anything. Why did he get the highest WPA in this game? I remember Anthony Rizzo did that one year after going like 0 for 4, some crap like that. But that's because he had like the most important base running positive WPA in that game, and that basically led the team against the Dodgers that one year and put him over the top. I think he had a ridiculous like 1.19 WPA or some crap like that. But that's because he was base running. So base running is also accounted. So this accounts for those people who like, oh well, this guy's fast and he can really make a difference in base running. This is the stat for you. Again, it's a storyline. It doesn't tell you how good a player is. It just tells you the situation. It's a situational storyline stat. And what better way to pop this open right now than the playoffs where everything gets magnified? And you mentioned Trevor Bauer. There he is. Even though he took the loss.
I was saying, if you sort it by WPA, he's probably number 1, right? Ahead of
among pitchers easily.
Yeah.
And probably among everybody else.
And I would say him, Fried, and Kershaw. Yep.
Max
there you go.
Fried, not the problem. That was the problem. Was that So we'll see if we can get
just to chirp on
the other statistics. Oh. I didn't get.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Just to kind of harp on the WPA thing.
The stat cast, I didn't get it.
Okay, that's fine. What? Just to harp on the WPA thing was, last year, Wilson Ramos, and I mentioned this once when we reviewed catchers, he actually had, a top 40 WPA higher than guys like George Springer, Josh Donaldson, and Rafael Devers, Tim Anderson, who won the damn batting title. Wilson Ramos had a WPA of over 2, which was second on the team behind Pete Alonso. And it was because he had such a great batting average when runners were in scoring position. And then this year it absolutely cratered, and he was, one of the worst hitters in baseball. I told you he was an empty batting average guy, that last year he just got very fortunate when it came to, coming up with runners on. And then this year he batted. I think he went from over 300 with runners in scoring position to under 200 with runners in scoring position this year. So the variable in that, but it's one of those, how much you influence the game. And last year, Wilson Ramos did a very good job of that. A lot of clutch, in air quotes, clutch RBIs get really show up in win probability added.
All right. So I'm just going to highlight the 929 games, and I'm going to go 930, October 1st, October 2nd, just really quick. Josh Naylor, like I think you mentioned, had 4 hits, 2 doubles, 1 home run. Is he worth drafting next year for your outfield?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
You sure?
Yeah. I think he's shown enough in the minors.
These are not really good numbers.
Those are skewed. He was terrible in San Diego. He really caught fire that last week in Cleveland. I think he's definitely worth a draft pick next year. I'm not sure a very high one, but probably 200 to 300 he's available, and he's going to get probably everyday playing time in Cleveland. Yeah, I would take it.
Only a 0.09 WPA, or as some of them in the baseball life group like to call it the WEPA. All our Puerto Rican brethren like to call it the WEPA challenge or whatever. Not to be confused with WAP, which is completely something different. So
wild ass pitching.
Yeah, wild ass pitching. That's the other tab right here, which is not done. But as you can see, even though he took 4 hits, they were empty calorie hits.
Yeah, I was saying they were inconsequential.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think he only had 1 RBI. Or
I didn't write it
okay.
down.
I didn't realize he had a home run that game.
But,
I
mean,
thought it was
he
just a
had,
couple of doubles.
yeah, he had 3 extra base hits, and
Okay.
like you said, inconsequential. It didn't help the Indians one way or another. You know what did help? As you can see, he kind of doubled up on Naylor's WPA. Was Gleyber Torres 2-run home run? Is he a bounce back candidate for next year? And do you? I mean, obviously, you can't take him first round, second round, but third round.
I don't touch Gleyber Torres. Him, Manny Machado, they're guys that I don't care what they do. I'm never drafting them. It might be a flaw in me, but I will never draft them.
I don't know. I think if he's there in the third or fourth round, you got to pull the trigger. I mean, he's only 24 years old, and he's seeming to catch some fire late in the year, coming back from injury. So I still believe in Gleyber Torres, but yeah, these numbers are almost Josh Naylor-esque at this point. We expect better from Gleyber Torres.
You might, I don't.
Nelson Cruz, the old reliable, the only guy that showed up for the Twins, got an RBI double in his game on 9/29.
Also in that game, I believe, was Alex Kirilloff's first career hit. Shout out to Alex Kirilloff, top prospect for the Minnesota Twins. He's always got a penchant. I've heard. I was doing some digging before his opening start, and they were saying that his exit velocity numbers throughout the minors the last 2 years have actually been really good, aside from his mixed results. And he hit a real hard sinking line drive to right field, real quick bat. I'm not sure. I could see the Twins moving on from Nelson Cruz because they just have so many options at DH. So Nelson Cruz could be finding a new home in 2021.
Because he ended up being their best hitter.
Yeah, he's been their best hitter for like 3 years.
That's inexcusable for the Twins. Come on. I mean, you can't rely on a 40-year-old who took enough PEDs to be this relevant still at 40 years old. Come on, guys. But yeah.
What did Jose Altuve do to have a .33?
You're jumping the gun. Last thing about Nelson Cruz, yeah, he ended up being the most important player in this playoff, despite the fact that they did lose to the Astros. But it wasn't Nelson Cruz's fault. He showed up. Now, remember when I told you that it's the situation in terms of WPA. It's always a situation. It could be base running. It could be number of base runners, and that's what happened. He got 2 walks, including an RBI walk in a very crucial moment. I think he.
Okay. Gotcha. Also, because he still doesn't have a base hit. He went 0 for 9 in the series, but he did have an RBI.
Yeah, but he
RBI
got on
walk.
Base.
Yeah.
Got on base and got a very important walk, and he might have gotten the game-winning RBI walk in that series. So his batting, there's nothing wrong with his batting at this point, right? We can assume so, but even without the buzzers. And
batting average is overrated, even when you're batting zeros.
Yeah. Now, what about on-base percentage and all that other shit? Like, but at any rate, I mean, I think the bases were loaded. He took a walk, and that was all the difference in game 1. Wasted opportunity for the Twins. They got a really good start out of Kenta Maeda. Unfortunately, the Astros countered with Framber Valdez, who came out of the bullpen and just marvelously pitched for the Astros. But look at that. This was the highest WPA. Jose Altuve was the most clutch player in this.
That's funny. That is quite funny.
In this day. But everything else about him for 2020, just trash. No pun intended.
Trash.
You trash. Jake Lamb, I don't even care what he did. The A's just got.
He's back from the dead.
Shut down by Lucas Giolito, though. So, I mean, these are decent numbers. These other two, the WBA, the WOBA numbers, not very good. So, it's mixed bag here for Jake Lamb. Do you believe in Jake Lamb still?
He's one of those guys, if any team can turn him around, it would be the Oakland A's.
Okay.
And, I mean, they picked him off the scrap heap. He was DFA'd by the Arizona Diamondbacks. It was like when you finally see your friend, dump her crappy boyfriend of like 14 years. And it's like, wow, they finally did it. She did that thing. And it's like Arizona was waiting so long on Jake Lamb to come back, and then it was just injury, hip, shoulder. And but he might have a home in Oakland.
Wow. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on him. You know why I don't like him though, right?
Because he's left-handed.
Yeah, and he strikes out too much too. I mean, well, he gets neutralized by left-handed pitchers.
He has severe platoon issues.
Yeah, I always liked Jake Lamb in Arizona, but I mean, you can't start every day. Then what good are you? I mean, been there, done that. No way. Adam Engel, no Eloy Jimenez. That's okay. Adam Engel to the rescue, solo home run and a double. Got the. I think he was the most important White Sox player in this game, and he was a big reason why they won.
Didn't Yolmer Sanchez have a big game too?
I think you're right.
He had like a home run and a double as well.
I believe you're right.
Okay.
But, I only did one player for each game.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Not enough room there.
Yeah.
Manuel Margot hit a 2-run bomb against the Blue Jays.
Blue Jays, yeah, that was ended up being the go-ahead runs. Hit it in like the 7th inning, and then they ended up winning 3-1. Once again, Manuel Margot, I don't like him, but when he's deployed in a position that he actually can be successful, against left-handed pitching, the defense is great, and it's like the Rays are the perfect team because a platoon of him and Kevin Kiermaier in center field, if you combine them into one person, it might be like the best center fielder in baseball.
I mean, that's it right there. I mean, that's the thing. You don't compare the Rays like player for player. You got to do
what their platoons are like. Yeah. The conglomerate, I guess.
I'm telling you, man, teams are gonna look at this and they're gonna want like that's what we want. That's what we need. That's what the Phillies want at this point, right? Like, can we not spend any more money on these free agents and can we just like get 2 scrubs that can give us 2 good seasons? And anyway, Lourdes Gurriel hit a double, a meaningless double, 0.07 WPA. So, but he did have a really good year this year in terms of these numbers. You got nothing to say about Lourdes Gurriel?
I thought that he would have a better season than Gleyber Torres, and everybody laughed at me. And I'm not going to take my victory lap after 60 games. That's wrong.
No, just do it, man. No. You know what? Because if you would, people have been on you because I like to tease you because you got Fernando Tatis. Like you overreacted on Fernando Tatis, I think. But I'm pretty sure other people are like, well, you got Fernando Tatis on.
But in that second half, did Tatis not kind of come back down to earth in the second half?
Hey man, regression, man. That's just regression.
Hey, when you can't make consistent contact, I'm always going to be worried about you.
Hey, you show up in the playoffs, all right? You shut your mouth. You show up in the playoffs. But go ahead, take your victory lap on Lourdes Gurriel right now.
I think that offense is going to be really good for a really long time. Bo Bichette, Biggio, Gurriel Jr., Vladito, I feel like is kind of making some strides forward, but Gurriel I think is going to be him and Teoscar Hernandez like complete afterthoughts in that lineup now, and they're just great.
Let's move on. Jordan Luplow, game 2 plate appearances, and he had a 2-run double. I think it was a pinch hitting in that one. I think. Yeah,
it was a pinch hit double, RBI double in like the 8th inning, and it was one of those things. It was everybody on Twitter right in the moment crushed Sandy Alomar Jr. or Senior, whoever, I can't remember. But they're like, why would you put Jordan Luplow in against Zach Britton, which felt like a good matchup because Luplow kills lefties.
Yeah.
But it was like common sense that they were going to pull Britton from the game. Yeah. And it ended up coming in spades for him. I mean, he hit that double and went over Hicks's head in center field late in the game. Yeah. Just wasn't enough to outlast the Bronx Bombers.
And that's all because of this guy right here. 2 hits, grand slam. He did strike out
against his former team too. That was the storyline I liked there.
And that's what the stat is. That's the storyline right there. 0.29. I think that was the highest. That might have been the highest of the day. Yeah. Oh no. Corey Dickerson. Oh, can't believe we're gonna talk about Corey Dickerson.
You're just tired of the Marlins, aren't you?
I mean, you know what the Marlins are? They're everything that Reds fans thought they could be. For this season, this 2020 season. That's what they are. Okay, sure. Let's see. Let's move on here. Freddie Freeman. My only question for you is he now the best first baseman coming into the 2021 season?
I thought he was this year, so yes.
Many people have Pete Alonso. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing was I wasn't going to touch Pete Alonso at a top 30 ADP. I had no interest in paying up for that price, but Freddie Freeman probably going to be your National League MVP. and it's going to be funny because you'll probably still be able to get him in the second round, maybe, just because he's not going to steal bases, and that usually drops people in categories leagues. Even though if he's one of the best hitters in baseball.
Okay, Jesse Winker, breakout this season, as you can see from me highlighting that he's red hot for 2020.
I'm Team Winker.
Yeah,
I love Jesse Winker.
Hopefully this DH thing stays around.
Yeah.
We talked about Nelson Cruz already. Oops, I can't see. I got to adjust here. There you are. I can see the little arrow now. Carlos Correa had a big hit. Now I can't see what the hell he did. I hit a solo home run in game 2, and that might have been the difference for the Astros, and they advanced. The Twins did not. Carlos Correa had a very good high hit rate, or relatively speaking, 41.8.
Yep.
Everything else sucked about him. Are you high on Correa?
I am. His is also staying healthy. It's a lot like Chris Bryant. I think they're very, very talented hitters, best players overall. I would love Carlos Correa in a Mets uniform. I would trade Ahmed Rosario for him in a prospect for Carlos Correa in a second.
All right, quickly, Matt Olson. I'm a big fan of Matt Olson. Good process, poor results, but he did have a big hit. Oh, he walked once, and I'm telling you, this A's team, man. This Oakland A's team, I tell you, man, that one walk was enough to put him at .16. Otherwise, that was just a grueling game to watch as a White Sox fan. But the A's pulled it off. But anyway, we're talking about Matt Olson here. He came in with high hopes this year. Were you satisfied if you're a Matt Olson owner this year or no?
A lot of people, especially like kind of in the industry, were Matt Olson fanboys. And it's because he's always done it. He's done it the last 4 years, 5 years, really. He posts some of the best exit velo numbers in the game. It's just the whiffs are still there. And the XBA this year really dropped. It went from 283 last year, which was a career high, to 224. It's 30. And then he posted his highest K percentage at 30%. It's very much a risky profile. I want to say he actually had a higher batting average versus lefties this year. 208, batted only 191 against righties. So he was under 200 for the season. The power is legit. The defense is great. It's just the batting average, especially in that Oakland ballpark. It's a lot of foul ball space or foul space. So I don't know. I like him. I just don't like him in Oakland.
All right, let's move on. Yasmani Grandal, I told you about Yasmani Grandal. He hit a big 2-run home run and got 2 walks. Is he now your number 2 catcher for 20?
Yeah, I always liked Grandal over Sanchez. While he did have a down year, it wasn't down enough for me to move him anywhere.
All right, let's move on. I mean, like I said, I'm a big Yasmani Grandal fan. I know, he's over 30, and that's a big contract. Austin, that's a really good question. But let's move on here. Corey Seager, a bounce back year this year, huh? Like,
I have never not liked Corey Seager. Top 5 shortstop, probably. I would do it. I feel like he's going to be a player. I have a lot of shares next year. I could see myself reaching for Corey Seager.
The Brewers, they didn't do much in this game against the Dodgers. He had 3 singles. Avisail Garcia had 3 singles that got him I think he was the only positive player in terms of WPA in this game. But there's nothing going for the Dodgers. How do you like Avisail Garcia next year?
I think is he a free agent? I'm not sure. He really had a down year. Everybody thought that going to Milwaukee would be good for him, but that Milwaukee offense just couldn't seem to figure it out at all this year.
They were worse than the Cubs.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Hunter Renfroe hit a grand slam. How do you like his prospects for 2021?
Well, you see the guy that he was involved with in the trade a couple of slots beneath him, and Jake Cronenworth. And close your ears, guys, but I think the Rays lost a trade. They gave up Tommy Pham and Jake Cronenworth and got back Hunter Renfroe and Xavier Edwards, as Blake Snell so eloquently put, some slapdick prospect. And Jake Cronenworth, Felipe is not going to like him because he's left-handed. He's a 26-year-old rookie. But I love me some Jake Cronenworth. I think Hunter Renfroe
Usually I don't like those guys.
is I don't know. It's like a Dave. He's Dave Kingman, giant, imposing, big
Yeah.
time power. He just doesn't make the contact necessary. And I'm still trying to figure out what the Rays were thinking when they traded for him. I mean, he was a really good defensive right fielder that last year, and they were kind of going for the really great defense, but the offense just wasn't there. And I'm not sure if it ever will be. I'm not sure if the hit tool's good enough.
You know what it is, Sean? You know what they wanted? They, like I said, they're just what do you call it? They're a versatile team. And you know what they saw in their lineup was, well, we really lack power in the outfield. Let's get a power outfielder.
Yeah.
And there it is.
Yeah.
And he does supply power in this game. He had a grand slam, but we need him to be a little bit more consistent.
And against the lefties that, like I mentioned earlier, the Yankees have a lot of lefties in that bullpen, a couple in the starting rotation. Hunter Renfroe could play a big part, or he could just go 0 for 10 with like 7 strikeouts. There's a wide range of outcomes for Hunter Renfroe.
I know you like him a lot. I don't. I think he's just a catcher, but he hit 2 solo home runs in this game.
Danny Jansen season is here.
He finally arrived. Top 10 catcher. Oh God, if he's a top 10 catcher,
he's one of those where catchers take a long time to develop, even after they get to the major leagues.
No, I don't want to hear from you guys. You guys were grilling me on this show. So how can you pick an old catcher? You always go young catchers and develop. This is the problem. This is what I was talking about, Sean. If I may go on my little rant here, this is what I'm talking about. This is
set him off, guys.
The Jays have been trying to develop, and look at him. This is crap, absolute crap. But he finally shows up here.
You know why? I think he will. He's done a lot of good work behind the plate that the Blue Jays are really proud of. But Alejandro Kirk, the Mexican wonder, is nipping right at his heels, all 5'6" and 280 pounds of him. But no, Austin Spera, I just want him to hear it. We just talked about Jake Cronenworth, but yeah, I'm really big on Jake Cronenworth going into next year. He was asking about, second-year players, him and Kyle Lewis. I really do think Jake Cronenworth is going to be a really, really good player. I'm not sure if he's ever going to be like, the bona fide all-star, but he's going to play multiple positions. He's always shown the ability to hit and get on base, walk a good bit. And he is really a StatCast darling. I hate saying it, but that's what he was.
So I'm highlighting everything in red right here on my spreadsheet. For those who can't see, I have a spreadsheet here going. Austin asked about Kyle Lewis and Jake Cronenworth. You mentioned that I usually don't like a guy who fits the Jake Cronenworth profile, but I got him on all 3 of my teams, man. He really saved my season at second base after I kind of ignored it. And my question was, do you think he could crack the top 10 at middle infield?
Yes, because I see him as a legitimate 15-15 guy, and especially in a categories league, that's super valuable. Especially, he batted 285, and his XBA was actually 324. So he had a pretty one of the best expected batting averages in baseball, and still batted, underperformed technically. So I really like him, really do. He's one of the few players in baseball who had like a 95th percentile or better expected WOBA and sprint speed. And I mean, he was just, if you go to his StatCast page, it's out of this world. It's crazy.
Austin, it is insane. That's why I was attracted to him. That's why I believe in him. Austin also asked about Kyle Lewis, who I kind of was disappointed in the second portion of this season. I in the newbie league, which I triumphantly won rather easily, I ended up benching Kyle Lewis a lot. I just couldn't trust him. He got off to a really good start, and then he just kind of disappeared. So how do you like Kyle Lewis for next season?
I'm fading him. I liked what he did, but I also don't buy it. He did whiff slightly less, and he walked more, which was good. I think that was what kind of kept him from completely bottoming out, but he still was whiffing a lot. Barreled the ball up pretty well. And I think the real fool's gold here is he struggled with fastballs. He whiffed over 30% again against fastballs, batted only 229. And against breaking balls and off speed, he whiffed 33% of the time on breaking balls and 58% of the time on off speed pitches. which you would think if you're swinging and missing at that many off-speed pitches, what's your batting average going to be like? What, under 200? He batted 299 and 300 against breaking and off-speed stuff, even though he couldn't make consistent contact. Yeah, a lot of people are going to pick Kyle Lewis in like around pick 100 probably, and that's way too high. I mean, I'm probably not picking him at all.
All right, let's move on then. We're almost done with the September 30th. I don't know if we can go to October, but we'll see. Paul DeJong, he got an RBI single. Is he a starting shortstop in 12-team leagues next year?
I think just based on his spot in the lineup and his production alone, he's going to probably be towards the back end of that top 12, but sandwiched between, Tommy Edman, Paul Goldschmidt, I could see them adding another hitter this offseason. Yeah, I think just based on that spot in the lineup, Paul DeJong's a top 12 shortstop.
Austin talking trash to me, saying that if he would have won his game, he would have beaten me in the final. If. Oh my God, you people with your excuses.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Shoulda. I mean, I could have beaten. If my players would have showed up, I could have beaten those other guys in the baseball life league. Whatever. I'm not bitter about anything. Okay. Ian Happ, solo home run. The only guy that showed up all season, really, for the Cubs, as we talked about already. Can he repeat his performance in 2021? Do you believe in Ian Happ?
Partially. I think he's still going to be good. I'm not sure if he's going to be as good as he was this year. He did kind of fall off towards the end because I remember he had a 1,000 OPS plus or OPS for a while, and then he ended the season right around 866. I do think he is closer to a 260 hitter than he is, like a 280 hitter. But I've always liked the plate discipline. He's going to walk a good bit. I think the strikeouts are going to come with it. He's a good hitter. I don't think he's going to be a great hitter, but he's going to be a very good hitter. I'm not sure how defensively he was or what position he's going to finally stick at.
He's pretty bad in center field, but there's really not a lot of spots for him to play in the outfield, and unfortunately, he's the only option the Cubs have at center field.
Yeah, he was in
Almora can't hit. Well,
the last 2 years he's been at +1 outs above average, but in his 2018 season he was -5. So slight improvements, but not going to be a plus out there.
Yeah, I always liked Ian Happ. Former first-round pick. He finally looks like he got the at-bats that he needed to be consistent. And like you mentioned, he ended up being the Cubs'
best hitter.
I mean, for better.
If you would have told me, and a lot of people, I guess, missed the fact that last year Ian Happ did have an OPS of 898.
No, I mean, I was high on him late last year. I think I picked him up in all my leagues as well. And I didn't draft him, but somehow he ended up in all my leagues this year, in all of them, all 3 of them. Anyway, Corey Dickerson to finish off this day, whatever day this is. Corey Dickerson, 3-run home run, despite the fact that he sucks major ass. Is he worth drafting next season?
Depends on where he goes, because he's a free agent now. I could kind of see him going back to Colorado, and if he goes back to Colorado, he's definitely worth drafting. I don't know. It's he's a free agent, so it just depends on where he goes. I think that's going to be the big difference.
All right, October 1st, Chad Pinder, 2-run single.
No, let's skip.
Right?
Skip.
I just want to point out that he did have really good StatCast numbers, but he did not produce anything.
He's a platoon guy. I think he's kind of like a Jordan Luplow light, crushes lefties, struggles against righties.
Yeah. Nomar Mazara, 2 RBI. Well,
actually, I was wrong. This year he crushed righties and sucked against lefties.
Excuse me. Nomar Mazara, 2 RBI. Will he ever live up to the potential that? I mean, we talked about him in the spring.
Just sell the bobblehead, Felipe.
He's done.
He's done. Sell the Nomar Mazara bobblehead.
I'm not selling a bobblehead, man. I don't have a lot of collections. I don't have a lot of collector's items, but those bobbleheads, those duplicate bobbleheads, they're staying with me until the day I die. So I'll probably be buried with it.
They're going to be in the will.
Ronald Acuna. I mean, big game for him in this one. Is he number 1 next year? Like, there was arguments in 2020 that it's Acuna. No, it's Trout. It's Acuna. Trout. Acuna. Trout. Is he number 1 without a question for 2021?
Some people will pick him number 1. A lot of people might be scared after he posted a 250 batting average, which in a roto league kind of hurts him. But hold me up. He just posted, and a lot of people disagree. He just posted his best offensive season according to WRC Plus, while striking out 30% of the time and only batting 250. And you know why? I really wish we had Roberto as our producer. That way I could have him cue up the scene from Moneyball where he points at Jonah Hill's character, and because he gets on base. He posted a 406 on base percentage, walked over 18, almost 19% of the time. If Ronald Acuna is getting on base 40% of the time, he's going to steal almost 50 bases, I think. Just they let him run, and he's going to have more opportunities to run if he walks. He had a 159 weighted runs created plus, was the best he's had since his rookie year, which was 143. People aren't going to realizing it because he batted 250, but this was the best we've ever seen Ronald Acuna.
Yeah. Hey, if anybody's interested to be our producer, and want to intern for free, let us know. I want to point out that look at all these scrubs who ended up having the highest WPA. Now, of course, a lot of these are losers, Castañeda, Freddie Galvis. But yeah, this is that time of year where the scrap heat player shows up big in these moments. But like, a guy like Freddie Galvis, who I don't want to talk about him. Whatever.
Pass.
Barnes,
Austin Barnes is I had him in that big 30 team dynasty league, and I handcuffed him and Will Smith together. And Will Smith's offense, I think is going to be the best hitter in this upcoming series. I think he's going to have the biggest offensive, but Austin Barnes has been really good for them behind the plate, so much so that they've been having Will Smith DH.
Yeah. Oh my God.
To keep him in the lineup.
Yeah, I saw Austin Barnes was one of the best. Pitch framers in baseball, and I could see why he always has a roster spot anyway.
Yep.
Castañeda, he's single and struck out. Like really nothing going here. They got dominated. The Brewers got dominated by the Dodgers. That's predicted.
I am going to take all of the depressed Castañeda value. All of the guys that had down 60-game seasons, Castañeda, Pete Alonso, I'm going to mop all those guys up. They're going to be on all of my teams. Oh, hell no. Javier Baez, Manny Machado, Gleyber Torres will never be on my teams.
Moving on, Tatis Jr., top 5 pick next year. He had 3. I mean, he showed up big here in this game.
Yeah. He'll be I'll bargain you. He's going to get picked earlier than Christian Yelich in the majority of leagues. Do I think he should? No, but he will be.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that in our draft, in the Baseball Life draft, I think the top 5, top 6 hitters were all outfielders. The top 6 picks were outfielders, I think. And you might see an infielder in Tatis show up. Well, in our league is a keeper league, so he's not going to show up in the draft. But if we were to start over, I think he would be the guy, the one infielder that shows up in the top 5. Colton Wong, 2-run home run, 4 RBI, big game for him. Colton Wong always seems to get, because I ignore second base, he always seems to get stuck on my team as a top 15 second baseman. Is he still a top 15 second baseman despite the awful numbers this year?
Probably. And going back, same reason I say the same thing about Paul DeYoung. They were adamant about batting him at the top of the lineup or towards the top of the lineup. So probably yes.
All right. Wilson Contreras, whatever. Mixed season. I'm gonna give him the red highlight here because these are decent numbers. Good process, poor results. We know what he didn't do this year, but all signs point that he's a lot better than his traditional numbers show. But Cub fans are done with him, from what the conversations I've gathered from them. Are you still a believer in Wilson Contreras?
I like him. I would rather the Mets make a trade for Wilson Contreras than they sign JT Realmuto to a $100 million contract.
That's fair.
Granted, I would rather take a nap in the middle of a beehive than the Mets sign JT Realmuto to a $100 million contract.
Yeah, you really don't like him.
No, I don't.
Garrett Cooper hit a game-winning home run or some shit like that.
He's a good hitter. He is a good hitter.
29-year-old late bloomer, I guess. Suddenly
Is he really that old?
He's 29 years old.
Gosh.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Tell me how this team is better than the Mets. You tell me. So there's Garrett Cooper. I really don't care. I don't want to talk about Garrett Cooper. Eric Hosmer, it was kind of fun. I mentioned it, that he had a 2-run double, #playoff experience. People were sleeping on Eric Hosmer's playoff experience. People were sleeping on Eric Hosmer having a big and ginormous contract. and he shows up big for the Padres in the offseason.
Wow, congrats. He finally had a positive WAR season since signing the contract. Okay, just kidding. I think he had like one. But yeah, Eric Hosmer was really a redemption story. He kind of, the air got taken out of his season when he went on the IL. But if you go to his StatCast page, I mean, he's somebody who could never consistently lift the ball. He always posted some of the lowest launch angles. In fact, even posting a negative launch angle 1 or 2 seasons. But he hit more fly balls. He hit more line drives. He's someone who's always hit the ball hard. And I go back to the last World Baseball Classic. Eric Hosmer was starting a lot of games at first base for Team USA. There's a reason for it. He's a talented ball player. And he was just, one tiny change away from being a good player. And he's only 30 years old. He feels like he's been around for forever.
Yadier Molina, their one saving grace for this game. I think he had an RBI single, and that's all he did. Weak year for him. But we know what to expect out of Yadier Molina. So that was the last one. Okay. Are we done? Oh, shit, we're done. And the pitches again. We talked about these guys already. Trevor Bauer, 7 innings, 12 strikeouts. Where is he playing next year? Do you know?
No clue.
Angels?
Cubs? I want to say the Angels, but I'm not. I don't know.
Will he take a multi-year deal?
I think he'll take a multi-year deal if there's an opt-out after year 1.
Max Fried, 7 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts. I mean, look at this. The Braves show up twice here, and I think Luis Castillo shows up somewhere on this list. I can't find him.
Yeah,
right
he's
now.
I thought he was just there. Never mind.
Oh, there he is.
Okay.
I thought it was higher than me. My bad. But I mean,
the Marlins lineup
really
is so bad that the Braves pitchers. Yeah, the Braves pitchers are going to pitch up because the Marlins lineup is so bad.
Clayton Kershaw, 8 innings pitched, 3 hits allowed, 13 strikeouts, and a walk. Are the playoff failures over, or is it just that the Brewers were that bad?
I'm going to try and avoid the jinx and say that he's still going to suck, but I want him to do really well.
Right. And that's all. Okay, so you wanted to do some other stuff. I would like to talk about all these other pitches, but we're running out of time. I don't know, right? I joked to Vince that since the Bears don't start until 3 o'clock, that I was going to go ahead and do a 2-hour podcast than I expected. So let's go back to, you wanted to predict. Oh crap, I closed it. No, that's not the right thing. I have to reopen it. But you wanted to predict who would be the WPA darling for the next round. So what do you got for me?
I was just going to say, who do you think in the next round, which hitter or pitcher is going to have the highest WPA?
I mean, that's a hard question because
it's completely random. This is just for fun.
Okay, so as long as I don't have to look it up, but okay, that's a little question right there.
It's someone from Atlanta or somebody from Oakland. It's I could see a real clutch home run coming from Matt Olson.
Oh, I don't see it.
Or is it somebody in the San Diego, LA? Is it somebody Yankee versus Tampa? Yandy Diaz is going to have another 2 home run game. Except if they were playing in Yankee Stadium, I think Yandy Diaz could have a 2 home run game, but they're not.
You really put me in the spot, but I mean, you're the one who brought it up. Do you have anybody in mind right now?
I mentioned him slightly earlier. I think Will Smith's going to have a huge series. I think he's going to be one of the best offensive players of the division series.
I think it's going to have to be somebody from the Rays. And I don't know, Willie Adames, I guess.
Oh,
that's so random.
There you go. Hey, I like it. I like it. That's a bold prediction. By this time next week, we'll see if we were even somewhat close.
Do we want to do pitchers too or
no? Pitchers, I will pick Ryan Presley. I think he's gonna get him out of 2 huge jams. He's gonna get him out, get huge outs, boost up that whoopa.
I'll go with Ian Anderson. I like Ian Anderson a lot. I just don't like that he's in the wrong team. But we'll go with Ian Anderson. He almost had himself a hell of a game. What was it? He had a WPA of .46 against in a pitcher's duel
Yeah,
against the
against
Reds. So
Cincinnati.
I can foresee him just embarrassing these young Dodgers pitchers and Dodger fans. How come we don't have anybody young that's like Ian Anderson? What the hell, Friedman?
And they avoid
yeah.
Tony Gonsolin, Dustin May, and all their other studs.
Well, those guys only go 3 innings and then come out of the bullpen. Where's our horse? Where's our Ian Anderson? They're gonna ask. They don't know what it is, Sean. These Dodger fans, they piss me off. They don't know how good they have it.
They're
They
spoiled.
They're spoiled. All right. Is this? You want to end it now?
I think we're good. We went right at an hour and a half almost. So it was back to be back on the podcast after missing last week. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to do a 2-person podcast than a 1-person podcast. That's for sure. But that's good to have you back. It was a fun show. We covered a lot, and this is how it's going to be for the rest of the off season, guys. It's not just fantasy baseball. We evaluate players from you know what it is, Sean. It's like we play fantasy baseball because we think we could, in some sort of parallel universe, we could run a baseball team, right? Isn't that what it's all about?
It's so easy, right?
Basically, this is it's the virtual GM of podcasts right here. Oh, I gotta mention the other podcast. Monday night, Dong City. I always forget the time slot, but Dong City tomorrow. Tuesday, the Audible with Matt and Randy. Wednesday, it's the Step Back with Jacob and Leon. Thursday, the Pod Jobbers, the wrestling podcast. I guess I should also mention these shows, what kind of shows they are. So Dong City's baseball. The Audible is a football at Football Life. Wednesday, it's the Step Back, the basketball group, Ball is Life. The wrestling group has their podcast on Thursday night, the Pod Jobbers podcast. Friday, Football Life. The Audible, again, double duty. And then your podcast week starts with us, Sunday mornings, right here, Sean and I, at the Total Basis Podcast.
Yes, sir. Oh, and speaking of virtual general managers, I know I've been slipping on it. Had a real busy work month, but I'm looking to wrap up the regular season of our Baseball Life Rockies over that sponsored at Out of the Park Baseball. I made it through the first half, and I just never got around to doing the second half. Gonna probably post a trade deadline poll later today, so be on the lookout for that. Nate Pearson, who we extended to that giant contract, has an ERA over 6. So things are looking a little rough in Colorado land. But hey, we won the title last year. That was our goal, and we already did it in year 2. So just wanted to bring that up.
Good stuff, man. Thanks a lot for that. And nothing else. We'll see you guys all next week. Thanks a lot.